Paul Kane, and I'm artist in residence at the Farmer House Museum.
So Paul, when did you start painting, and what made you start painting at the time?
I think it was in art classes that I took at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, maybe when I was about 8 or something like that. But I started drawing as early as I can remember. I mean, my earliest memories are of drawing. And it started, as I recall, or at least according to the narrative I tell myself, when my mother and I started exchanging drawings. Apparently I had some difficulty learning language. So my mom would, I think maybe in response to that, my mom would make drawings and I would make drawings and we'd trade drawings. Like she was encouraging me to find a different way to communicate, and that stuck with me. And then when I was 6, she took all of us kids to visit her folks in Germany. And my grandfather was a sculptor, had a big sculpture studio, and did work for churches. And so did his father before him, and his father before him, going back to the mid-1800s. And that studio was where I first began to think of myself as an artist, because I felt completely at home there. And I had never felt at home before, anywhere. And that's the one place, and still to this day, that's the one place I've ever felt truly at home. Sometimes here at the farmhouse, because I'm going to get a bit of that feeling, but my grandfather's studio was the only place I truly felt at home.
Have you painted throughout your whole life, or were there any break times where you weren't doing it as much?
No.
Throughout, I mean?
I've never taken any breaks from it, no.
So what's your favorite material to use?
It's a good question. That was a really good question. But no, ever since I started, I've never stopped. I work in mixed media, so I use oils, acrylics, and I use found paints, such as house paints, and etc. But mostly oils and acrylics are my favorites.
So what's your favorite subject to paint, and what techniques do you like to use when doing that?
That's whatever comes next. Whatever my imagination spits out. But I would say that my subject matter tends to be rooted in my family background. On my mother's side, they did work for churches, so there's almost kind of like a religious element to my painting, but it's nothing overt normally. It's you might say, I sort of maybe tried to distill spiritual and religious ideas through my paintings, drawing from various influences.
Yeah, so this kind of ties into the next question. Is there any theme that you ever try to get across in your paintings, or in a certain painting you've done?
There's always themes that I have in mind, but the painting takes on its own life. Becomes, you could say, answers to questions that maybe you didn't even know you had. But there's always a theme that I have in mind, almost always, of some kind. It usually has to do with both the journey of a person, a human being, and trying to find out who they are. It's really maybe always a way that I'm asking who I am, but also more generally, what is it to be human, what is it to be alive, things like this. And also it's about community. What is community? how do we find our way towards each other or away from each other? What is connection? What is community? What is a human being individually, and what is community? Those are really what I'm always about.
All right, well, that's all I have for now. So, thanks, Paul.
Great. Thanks for good questions.